Welcome back to Heroic Book Adventures. I'm Steve, and today I'm going to take a look at the Charwoman Shadow by Lord Dunsany. I have a Ballantine Fantasy Classics edition with a Michael Herring cover. He also did some very well-known covers for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So our main character, Raymond, lives on his family's meager little estate in the Spanish countryside. And one day his old man pulls him aside and says, "Hey, your sister is getting to about the age to be married off. The problem is we're broke and don't have any money for her dowry. So I need you to go and collect some gold for us." And the boy says, "Okay, well, how am I supposed to do that?" So the father goes on to explain to him that Raymond's grandfather had once went on a boar hunt deep into the woods, and there he ran into a magician who dealt in the black arts. The magician was just happy to have some company, and they ended up talking and just doing the thing. And the magician asked him for the secret of boar hunting because he can tell that this man was the greatest boar hunter ever. So his grandfather had told the magician all of his secrets about boar hunting, shared it all with him. And in return, the magician wrote him a little scroll and said, "Here, keep this. If you ever have need of our arts, you can show this to any magician and they will help you out with it." So his grandfather never took up that offer, but the family kept that scroll. So the father says, "I'm going to give you this scroll, and I want you to go out into the woods and find this magician because, he lives longer than a normal human because of his magical powers, so he'll still be there. And I want you to find him and learn the secret of how to transmute gold. Using the philosopher's stone, magicians will transmute base metals into gold that we need for our family." So, okay, this makes sense to Raymond. So he heads out and goes to find this magician and soon does, encounters him and tells the magician, "I would like to learn of the black arts," and shows him the scroll from his grandfather. And the magician says, "Okay, your grandfather was a great man. I owe him for the knowledge he gave me, so I will teach you." So basically, he feeds them and then puts them in a bed for the night, and they'll start in the morning. Well, then in the middle of the night, Raymond hears a knocking on his door, so he says, "Come on in." And this old woman comes walking in, and she says, "Don't make any deal with him. Whatever he asks of you, don't do it. His prices are way too high." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And this old woman is the charwoman, which basically means like a cleaning lady of the place. And she explains that she had made a deal with the magician to live a much longer life. In exchange, he asked for her shadow. So now she has no shadow. And even when she tried to escape away from him and go back into town, they ran her out of town as something evil because she doesn't have a shadow anymore. So she just says, "My life has been horrible ever since making my deal with this magician, so don't you do it." So in spite of the charwoman's warnings, of course, Raymond says, "Well, because of my family's dire financial situation, I have to do something." So he does end up making a deal with the magician. Now, he soon finds out that there's a price to be paid for dabbling in the black arts, one that probably is not worth paying. He quickly regrets making a deal with him, and decides that he's going to make right the wrongs that he's chosen to do because of his actions. And also he vows to get back the shadow for the charwoman because he feels pity for her, seeing the state that she's been in, and he knows nobody else is going to help her out. Now, this story was written 100 years ago, so it does have that quaint, old-timey language to it, which to me did not detract from it at all. I'm myself kind of hit or miss with some of the old classics. Some of them I can get through okay, and some I just really don't like the language on. But this one did stick for me. I enjoyed it. It doesn't, I would not say that it's hard to understand writing, but it does challenge you to remain focused on what you're reading to understand it. But in return, it really does reward you because Dunsany's writing is really exquisite. He's very, very good. He does a good job of writing like beautifully descriptive passages, but without ever getting too overly flowery. You know, he's got like he's just that nice little sweet spot he sits right in there. If you are a fan of the classics, like you will enjoy this writing style from which you're probably already familiar of from that period in the 1920s. And in addition to the beautiful language, he's telling a well done story. He weaves it in, and it's kind of somewhat straightforward, like a normal fairy tale sort of story, but it also includes some good, unexpected turns to it in that. And yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, the more I'm liking this story. Had a handful of really good characters in it. If there's one complaint I would have, it's that there are going to be some readers who find this a little bit dated. You know, just like today, it's very popular for people to nitpick about the flaws in old Disney movies. But to me, those old ones had an atmosphere and a magic to them that the newer ones just can't quite reproduce. And I think it's the same way with this old-timey sort of language to me. It almost makes me feel like the stories are more magical, more fantastical as a result. So it's not a detriment to me, but I can see where some people would feel it's dated. But I do like newer fantasy as well. There's lots of great stuff coming out right now. Every generation adds something brand new to the genre. But I also think that there's always going to be a place for these timeless classics like this one. If you like fairy tale type stories, you'll really enjoy this. If you like the classics, like I said, you're gonna. This is like a good fantasy classic sort of thing. And if you're just interested in the origins of where fantasies come from, this is a good place to look, because if you look at the list of authors who cite Lord Dunsany as like major influences on their works, that list is just legendary. So this is one that's just, it falls really in that classic range for me, where I think if you're a big fan of fantasy, this is one certainly worth tracking down and finding. And I will see you shadowless heroes on our next Spanish adventure.